When whippoorwill call, and evening is nigh, I hurry to my blue heaven.
G'day and welcome to episode number 32 of My Blue Heaven. It's about 50 minutes post-game here at the MCG. The boys down below here will be celebrating pretty hard after a third win in a row. Who would have thought, hey, third win in a row against our rivals now, the Adelaide Football Club. I think it was a perfect game for us. Everything that we wished for beforehand came to fruition, and it came about because it was built on the back of just hard work. Adelaide got the jump early. They got a couple of goals out the back, but our forward half pressure, our tackling inside forward 50, we hunted the pill. Our leaders, experienced players, were able to get on the march and lead from the front, obviously led by the two bulls inside in that first half, particularly in that first quarter when the heat was on. Patrick Cripps and Ed Kerno were absolutely outstanding. It was just nearly a complete performance by our boys this afternoon. A special shout out to, I think we were all a little bit worried about Andrew Phillips and the ramifications of losing Matthew Cruiser on Thursday night. And, Phillips hadn't had only playing the three games for the season, comprehensively beaten by Nankervis and Lightset in the first two games of the year, then came back for another game against Goldstein and probably had his colours lowered there. We were a little bit worried coming up against a young bull in Riley O'Brien. I thought O'Brien, he's an outstanding prospect, isn't he? And he was very good around the ground, particularly pushing back in our defensive 50 to take some outstanding contested grabs. He had 20 disposals and 8 marks, 4 of those contests. But I thought Phillips really set us up. We dominated the clearances. I don't think I've seen a more complete display from us in regards to our clearance work. Phillips had 35 hitouts and 16 of those were to advantage. We dominated that area 52 to 29. And out of the middle, it was a masterclass performance by Phillips with his tap work to Cripps, who had 19 clearances. So out of the middle, it was 17 to 8. He was absolutely brilliant. Also, Sam Walsh chipped in with 7 clearances himself. What I might do is quickly just run through each player. Maybe give him a mark out of 10. It's probably the second time I've done this for the year, but I just think when it's such a team performance like this, we can go through each player and just, some of the things they did this afternoon, some of the things that made this such a special win now. And I think I haven't spoken about this a lot over the last month or so because I'd like to see our coaching run its proper course. But I think David Teague now should be in the box seat to be our coach in 2020 and beyond. So let's start with the co-captain, Patrick Cripps. I mean, we talk about that performance against the Brisbane Lions 5 weeks back, where he had his 36 disposals and kicked 4 goals. But this to me, this was the game. This was the game by the man who's been a little bit down, I reckon, on form since that Brisbane game. He hasn't been as dominant, and we said during the week that it's been great that other players have been able to step up. But today, it was Patrick Cripps at his absolute best. It was an unbelievable performance, 39 touches, 24 of those contested. He kicked our first goal, which got us going. He led from the front. He also led our club in tackles as well. It was as good as performance. I mentioned Liam Jones's performance last week was a highlight, but this one by Patrick Cripps, this showed he is the best player, possibly the best player in the competition. There's a lot of good players, but I mean, this was just unbelievable. Cade Simpson, the old man, the veteran. We spoke to him here on K-Rock Football post-game. Cade Simpson, I asked him, I posed the question, I might put the interview up a little bit later on. I posed the question, what are his plans for next year? And he basically said he wants to go on, which is great news for us. He said he hasn't enjoyed going to work for a long time at the Carlton Football Club. He absolutely loves what he's doing. 31 touches today. Thought his kicking at times was a little bit down, but he still run at 81% disposal efficiency. And to see him drift forward and kick a really, really important goal in that third quarter from 40 metres out was just was just the icing on the cake for just a marvellous player from our football club. Mark Murphy he just continues to get the job done over the last 6 weeks since he's gone back into the midfield. 31 disposals, a little bit of inside, a little bit of outside. I thought he was really good again this afternoon. And our man, Sam Walsh, I hardly ever speak about him. I've been reluctant to speak about Sam Walsh, but once again, I thought he got caught a couple of times today, but in that last quarter, if you have a look at the stats of that last quarter, it was the 18-year-old who had 9 touches in that last turn to get up over 30 touches once again. Was just absolutely outstanding, Sam Walsh. Ed Curnow thought his first half, particularly that first quarter when the game really, we needed to put a stamp on it. It was the work of Ed Curnow on Rory Sloane. They double-teamed Sloane. They double-teamed the Crouch brothers. Him and Cripps they wanted it, didn't they? They wanted it more this afternoon. You could see that right from the opening bounce that we wanted this game, and Adelaide weren't just up to the fight, and that's the most pleasing thing. We knew that if you give Adelaide some time and space, they can cut you up a little bit, but it was the work of Cripps and Curnow who said, no, this is our game. We want to control this. We're the big boys. And once again, it was Curnow. He's been absolutely outstanding at Curnow. Since David T took over, he's led from the front and showed that, he's still got a fair bit of football in front of him as well. Probably the most pleasing display for me this afternoon was the form of Will Setterfield. He's had a lot of knockers, but I think his last 5 or 6 weeks as well, we've started to see him really grow. He looks stronger in the body. His kicking's a lot better. He's very creative. There was a sensational piece of play, I think it may have been in the second term, where he put his head over the pill and spun out of trouble and set up a goal. Was absolutely outstanding. And to top it off in that last quarter when the heat was on, when the Adelaide Crows were coming, Paddy Cripps at the clearance fed it off and a kick around the body at the punt road end. To hear that crowd, go up as one when Setterfield put that goal through, it was absolutely outstanding. He's got a touch of class, this kid. He really has. He doesn't panic. The fumbling which we saw early on in the year has deserted him. He's starting to be a lot cleaner around the ball, and I think his kicking will only improve as he gets more confidence in that knee. Dale Thomas, he's winding that back the clock to his best football. There's no doubt about that. Not his damaging best when he was at Collingwood playing as a high half forward or on the ball or on the wing where he kicked goals, but in regards to his the way he hits the contest, his one-on-one work down back today in that second term was outstanding. Some of his efforts to compete and his ball use, he was just brilliant today, particularly in that first half. Daisy Thomas, outstanding. Mickey Gibbons, I mentioned him last week. I actually mentioned a couple of times throughout the week that you've got to sign this kid now. He's not a kid anymore, but you've got to sign him now, Carlton. Don't wait around. We can sign him before the end of the year. He's a rookie-listed player. He's done the hard yards. He's played every game this year. When the heat was on early, he was excellent. He's creative with his hands. He had 22 disposals and kicked the sealer in that last quarter. Mickey Gibbons, once again, outstanding. SBS had his moments today. I thought some of his ball use was, a little bit up and down. He was another one like Will Setterfield, that piece of play in that first quarter where he put his head over the ball and spun out and kept his feet and fed the ball off, and it resulted in the goal. Set the tone. When young players, along with Cripps and Ed Curnow, a young bloke sets the tone as well early in the game. You just like it when Sam Patrisky-Seaton's got the ball in his hand. I thought it was a really solid performance, and it butters up from his really good game last week against the Suns. Nick Newman, I thought he was pretty good this afternoon. Nick Newman, 19 touches, pretty safe with the ball in his hand, defended well. Just another, sort of a 6.5, 7 out of 10 performance by Nick Newman. So it was thumbs up to him. Levi Casbolt, hey? The big meat, big Levi Casbolt. Some of his marking was a treat. His kicking for goal was a treat. His work up the ground. He pinch hit in a ruck and give Phillips a chop out with his 10 10 hit-outs, 3 goals, 1. The goal in that third quarter, which was great work by Paddy Dow, and I think it was Jack Silvani was involved, tied on the boundary line here at the city end, was the goal of the afternoon. And yeah, I mean, it's just great to see the big guy up and about, out of contract at the end of the year. So there's no doubt that his time in the AFL hasn't come to an end. Big Levi Casbolt now is an integral part of the way we want to play, and it makes it interesting, doesn't it, to see how that's going to unfold over the course of the next 12 months, with obviously Charlie Curnow and Mitch McGovern to come back in. We've got Harry McKay down there. So how's all that going to work out? How are we going to, sort of fit them all in? It's probably a good headache to have, but once again, Levi Casbolt was outstanding this afternoon. Jack Silvani's just doing what Jack Silvani does now. Very creative, hard at the contest, 5 tackles, 15 disposals, great contested mark. I was very critical of Jack Silvani in the Brisbane game with his marking, and I thought it's an area of his play needed to improve, and I was so glad for him in that second quarter that he was able to take that contested mark and go back and kick a really important goal in that second term. Wiedering had a great battle with the skipper, the co-captain from the Adelaide Crows, and Taylor Walker. I thought Wiedering got the points. I thought on the one-on-ones he was good. Walker ended up with 3. A couple of those were lucky, one from a double 50-metre penalty, but he's just coming of age now, Jacob Wiedering, isn't he? And he's looking pretty rock solid down there. It was another very, very assured performance by Jacob Wiedering. I really like the performance of Josh DeLuca. Started on the pine, gave us some energy when he came on. It was great to see him kick that goal of the opening, 30 seconds of that last quarter. Gets into good spots. It was hard at the contest, 5 tackles, only had 11 touches. But look, I still don't think he's probably got... I don't know. The jury's well and truly out on what he's going to bring to the table. But right here, right now, for what we want to do, I think he's a perfect fit for us in the final 4 or 5 games of the season. So well done, Josh DeLuca. Lockie Plowman, great. Only 10 disposals, but didn't put a foot wrong today. And I thought his ball use was really, really, really solid. Matty Kennedy hurt himself early, kicked a nice goal around the body, thought he led up to the ball pretty well. 7 tackles was the highlight for me, Matthew Kennedy. That's what I want to see. He did not, he kicked the 4 goals last week, Matthew Kennedy, but he didn't lay a tackle. So today he only kicked the 1 goal and had 10 disposals, but he had 7 tackles, and 5 of those were inside forward 50, which was a real plus for him. And even though he hurt his ankle, I feared that he'd go off and we wouldn't see him again, but he pushed through that. And he seemed to be running on top of the ground in the last quarter. I reckon he's going to be a sore boy, Matthew Kennedy, and we'll just have to wait and see where he's going to come up for the game against the West Coast Eagles next week. Lockie O'Brien didn't do a lot. I thought, though, that O'Brien played a sort of defensive role today on some of their more dangerous plays, and Seedsman, and Millerer, and I thought that O'Brien, and also late in the game when our players were tied, O'Brien was able to give us a little bit of run, which we seemed to lack, and we looked a little bit tired late in that game. And I thought, Lockie was, he was a solid contributor. It wasn't a great game, but it wasn't a poor game. He contributed at important times. Darcy Lang, nice goal, composed goal, beautiful goal on that left foot. Was it the first quarter? He needs to do more, but he's something about Darcy Lang that I'm not quite sure of his winning percentage. Maybe someone can tell me, but I reckon he's played in a lot more wins for the Carlton Football Club than he's played in losses. And it seems to me that when he plays, he brings something creative to our team. I'd just like to see a little bit more of it. The 9 touches and 3 tackles and a goal. I'd like to see that pushed up around about the 15 possession mark, and maybe, just being a little bit more involved in the games. But when you're winning by 27 points, I think you can cut some blokes some slack and say, okay, they're playing some important roles for the football team. I mentioned Phillips, thought he was outstanding, 35 hit-outs, 16 of those to advantage. Drifted forward and took really 2 strong contested marks and made Riley O'Brien defend. And I thought that was a really good sign for him. I would actually like to see next week Cruiser given another week off, get his body right, and give Phillips an opportunity to play against, I'm not quite sure who's rucking for the West Coast Eagles at the moment. It's definitely not Nick Nat. But there's an opportunity for Phillips to get some continuity under his belt. And I thought that was a really, really a good stepping stone for him to maybe be on the Carlton list for next season. Jones, once again, kept Jenkins. Jenkins had 6 disposals, 3 marks, 9 hit-outs, spent a bit of time in the ruck and kicked 1 goal too, Josh Jenkins. I thought Jones, once again, was really solid down back. Him and Wiedering had just been outstanding. Harry McKay, a little bit quiet, but kicked a nice goal. Probably should have kicked 2. His kicking still a little bit off, only had the 4 disposals. 5 marks. Yeah, it wasn't a great game by Harry, but it enabled some of our other players to get involved inside forward 50. And Paddy Dow laid in for Zach Fisher. Look, it was 4 handballs. Dow's definitely down. There's no doubt about that. I know his role today was a lot more about. He played more of a defensive role inside forward 50 with the 6 tackles, which was a real plus for him. In fact, I thought that was a really, really good sign from Paddy Dow, because his tackling has been something which needs to be addressed from early on in the season. But he's just not the Paddy Dow that we saw last year, and he's definitely going through a little bit of a transition in the way he wants to play. But it's great that these young kids, the likes of Dow, O'Brien, Jack now, all these youngsters that we've had who've tasted so many losses now are starting to get a real feel of what it likes to be part of a winning team. We've got a long way to go, the Blue Baggers, but we should be up and about. We wanted this one. We penciled this game in the fixture, I reckon, about a month back, and thought this is the one we want against the Crows for a lot of reasons. Behind closed doors, I don't know whether the club's thinking about the swap of draft picks, but I'm sure deep down, Sauce is probably sitting there now with a smile on his face, or certainly a lot of Carlton supporters are. We showed Adelaide today. We actually probably ended their chances of playing finals football, although they probably will still be in the top 8. They look anything but a finals contender. They were meek. And when they did try to lift, we always had a response. We were always able to respond. So it was, I think for me, I go back to the Fremantle game of the sheer joy of getting a win after the siren. Oh, not after the siren. We got that win late in the game after coming back from so far behind, and just the jubilation, the excitement of that win. But this one, there's something special about this win. We got in front and we led at every change. And whenever Adelaide looked like they might challenge, we just had the answers, and it was all about just being a little bit tougher, a little bit harder, and we wanted it more. So there's a real spirit in this footy club at the moment. The crowd of 38,639, predominantly Carlton supporters, were really loud, particularly in that last quarter when Setters and Gibbons kicked those goals, and DeLuca. It's just a joy to be part of it, and it just makes you think now. That I did speak a lot about this at the start of the year in regards to the expectation for me was that we should be winning games of football, and we are doing that now. So, you don't like to look back. You don't want to look back in the rear vision mirror, but you sort of think to yourself, and we've got a lot of outs as well. There's no Charlie, and there's no Mitch McGovern, and there was no Zachy Fisher today, and there's no Doherty, there's no Marchbank, and we're playing this type of football, which we probably should have been doing in the first half of the season. But we take the positives. We move forward to a big game next week against the West Coast Eagles, who are going to be difficult. They're a professional mob, and they're going to bring a hell of a lot more hunger and a lot more desperation to the table than what Adelaide did today. It's a happy blue bagger here at the MCG. I actually just saw a couple of umpires on hands and knees proposing in the middle of the ground about 5 minutes ago, which was quite interesting. I think she said yes. So that was a little bit of a highlight. But onwards and upwards, Blue Baggers. If you like these videos, please subscribe and enjoy your week. I certainly will, and I'll certainly be having another look at this game a couple of times, I reckon, during the week. So see you guys later.